Welcome into the Weekendology podcast, the podcast with the hottest takes, the best talking points, and the best stories to spark your weekend conversations. Will Deichley back alongside my illustrious co-host, Aaron Berg. Aaron, how's everything going for you today?
I am, as always, fantastic.
Oh, fantastic. Glad to hear. Well, we've made it to our second episode, Aaron. Last week we had a great first episode. Talked about the NBA, kind of its evolution from the early 90s to the modern day, and I think it was a great episode. It turned out really well.
Yeah, it was good. It was our first podcast ever, and a long time since we did any type of radio, so I was impressed. It was really good.
Yeah, it's. I think it turned out really well. I'm really glad with how everything worked out. So we're on to our second episode, and I think the second episode we both agreed on fairly quickly. It was a pretty important topic to discuss. It was a very more of an important area to delve into, and one that kind of is very holds personal and true to me as well. But we're talking about mental health and how it relates to athletes, how it relates to sports in general, kind of covering what the different leagues are doing, but really kind of just overarching things we like to change within mental health support as well.
Yeah, and you can follow us before we get into this one at Weekendology Pod on Twitter. And guess what? We are official. We're big time. We're up on Apple Podcasts.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that. We are up on Apple Podcasts right now, up on iTunes. We'll eventually be up on Spotify. Check us out on YouTube as well, but we'll get to the social tags kind of towards the end of this. But let's dive in deep about this, Aaron, and really see what we can come up with here. So the NBA actually has kind of made some different strides in the mental health awareness. Putting out some new guidelines, making sure that these players are supported properly, and I think this is an important topic to talk about because one, the NBA is the only major league in America to kind of be doing this alongside the NFL. But they're really putting out some more of these stricter guidelines to support these athletes with some of these the mental health aware issues as well. So we'll dive in deep for this as well. Aaron, what have you found, I guess, in terms of what the NFL is doing, and then we can kind of go back and forth between what the NFL and NBA doing is compare them.
Right. So the NFL, honestly, I think the NFL started this because of the NBA. The NBA has made a lot better strides in this field, and so the NFL has followed suit, and especially, I mean, they've had just a ton of PR nightmares in the past probably 10 years. I mean, they've had so many mental health news come out. Junior Seau's suicide was a huge one that rocked the sport. But the NFLPA and the NFL finally agreed they're going to build some substantial player behavioral and mental health care resources. They're going to be made available for the NFL players and also add in some additional programs directed towards education, prevention, and really overall just behavioral health throughout the league. So I think that's a great step. It's a much needed step, and it's not, I don't want to say it's too little too late, because it's definitely not little. It's great they're doing this, but it does make me mad that this wasn't done 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I mean, even though mental health really is a conversation in 2018, 2019, it's really kind of bubbled over to the point where everyone is now like, oh, we need to talk about this now. I mean, contact sports especially, this should have been taken care of. And this should have been in the Paul Tagliabue era when this was becoming a problem. We were seeing people get out of the NFL or during the NFL having these mental health issues and anxiety and plenty other things. So it's fascinating to me that this is just now and that they're following suit because you have other leagues like the NBA are taking steps. And so then the players start speaking up and it becomes a big thing now. This should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah, when you talk about the NBA or kind of talk about mental health in general, I think it's really not a widely spread or known topic, or it's a hot take to really talk about. When you talk about all of these types of things that are going on with it, it's not really going to be kind of at the forefront of people's minds when you talk about, depression, anxiety, mental health awareness. That's a lot of times there's a bit of a taboo with it. And what the NBA has done is taken kind of what the NFL is doing and taken it one step further. And there's so many different guidelines and support systems that they're putting out to these players now that gives them more support, more kind of alleviating the concerns that they've had with some of these issues. So they're retaining and making players available on a voluntary basis to one or two different types of health professionals, kind of licensed in their field, and they treat these kind of clinical mental health issues and are there for the players. They're identifying local licensed psychiatrists to be available in managing some of the mental health issues. They're even enacting written plans to plan for these mental health emergencies. And they're putting in place procedures for communicating to players and team staff and teams' practices with respect to privacy. And they're also making a mandatory health and wellness session in Chicago where these players go and they discuss these mental health issues a little bit further. So, I mean, Aaron, what does it mean to you that the NBA is kind of doing these kinds of things and, taking strides into addressing these issues?
I mean, it means everything. I think this is a huge step. And again, another thing should have been done a long time ago. David Stern should have been doing this. So a ton of credit to Adam Silver. That's great that he is on this initiative and carrying it further. But you got to remember, this started with Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan. They both, and this was a couple years ago. This is 2018. I mean, it's inexcusable to me that it got to that point where they came out and it took stars to come out and say, hey, this is something that I need to talk about and everyone needs to know. And then people started taking notice. And it was almost like a shock to people, which
it
was interesting because, sure, I thought, wow, Kevin Love, I didn't know he was dealing with that. DeMar DeRozan, I didn't know he had depression and things like that you just don't think about. But there's all these examples. You can go back far as Chris Anderson. He got suspended for 2 years for drugs essentially, and violating the drug policy they called it, and they didn't get into details. And I understand he should have shared his story, shared a little bit more of what was going on, and it's really hard. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not hard to do. It's extremely hard. I don't blame him for taking his time, but the NBA, I mean, I didn't see any evidence of the NBA reaching out to help him. They just suspended him. And maybe they did behind closed doors. Maybe there was a lot more, but none of that was public. We still, to this day, don't know what they did for him. They let him back in the league eventually, but he went and got his help. But what did the NBA do? You have Eddie Griffin. There's a guy, not a star, role player, good player. And we come to find out after he dies, he crashed his car into a moving train. And he was an alcoholic, drunk at the time. Clearly, he was hurting inside. And for years and years, hurting inside. Why did that come out till he died? And thank God. I mean, think about it. Kevin Love, DeMar DeRozan, that could have happened.
Those are big stars, yeah.
That same thing, it could happen to anybody. And that's what Kevin Love's article is about, too. It could happen to you. It could happen to anyone. And Kevin Love could have ended how Eddie Griffin ended. Or they could have, at the very least, been like Chris Anderson and turned to drugs to cope. I mean, and to do that until Kevin Love writes a piece on Players Tribune, to me, that's where the NBA, I mean, they're doing a great job right now, but this should have happened before, and they have a long way to go down.
Yeah, and let's talk about Kevin Love for a second. I think when you talk about these huge stars, and even with some of the stars that are lesser well known, it's disappointing to kind of see it not really have a lot of publicity or not being talked about more. And why is now all of this all of a sudden being talked about more? Kevin Love, I think, was one of the first people to really kind of bring this to fruition and talk about this. I mean, the dude was literally in a game when he had a panic attack and he realized, okay, this has never happened before. Why am I feeling like this? Why am I going about these type of behaviors. And he said he couldn't catch his breath. He couldn't, really focus. And he went off out of the game. We had like 2 buckets, and that was it. And so he really took to himself and said, okay, why am I feeling like this? And he knew that there was something wrong with it. And even it's not just athletes, it's publicity figures in general. I mean, The Rock has come out and said, depression sucks, and people need to talk about this. People need to get help about this.
But he's just doing that now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. This has been going on for years and years and years. And, I mean, thank God that it's taking The Rock and Kevin Love and these other guys to come out and tell their story. I mean, that's very courageous. So can't give enough credit to them. That it's very hard to do. But, I mean, my hope for this is more people come out and tell the honest stories of Kevin Love having a panic attack. It really humanizes these people. And we start to think, okay, maybe they're not these superheroes or these untouchable people. They're people like you and me that stress about everything and have their own family issues off the court, off the field, in their daily personal lives. And that affects their job and affects their profession.
Yeah, I agree with you, Aaron, and I think with such a stigma about mental health and kind of how the world perceives, sharing of your feelings or thoughts and all that kind of stuff, there's a bit of a taboo on it. And
why do you think like that? Because that's something that's always fascinated me. Always, even 15 years ago when this wasn't a conversation, it still was interesting to me why people thought it was bad to bring up something you're going through.
Well, I got a couple of theories about it. I think one, we live in a very hyper masculine and kind of an elitist type of society, very patriarchal. And not to get too philosophical about it, but I mean,
you're a philosophizer.
I am a philosophizer, but I think there's this thing about like men and toughness and kind of like when you're taught as a kid, just rub some dirt on it, or you'll be fine, get over it. A lot of people say, you're not feeling this way. They doubt the way that you feel, and I think there's obviously no merit in that because nobody knows how you feel except for you.
It's just like a historical thing that's been repeated, like kind of the attitude of we've always done it this way. This is how we think, and there's really no thought to it.
Exactly, too. And I think there's such a fear, and when it's tough to talk about these issues. I've faced certain issues like this before, and it is very difficult to discuss those. I mean, you have fear of, what are other people going to think of you? You have your own doubts, your own insecurities come to play. And then when you combine that with your depression or with your anxiety or with anything in the matter of it, it magnifies it, times 1,000. And I think there's such a kind of story that we've been told, it's like tough it out, get over it, keep fighting through it. And
that's the way of the sport. I mean, if you're a competitor and you're playing the sport from a little kid, I think it is a little bit natural to have that, fight through adversity, fight through pain. When you're dying, you don't quit, you don't give up. And I think that muddies the waters into this conversation. So these athletes are taking that attitude and bringing it into the mental health realm.
Yeah.
And it's not the same at all, and so they're thinking, oh, it's fine. Oh, I got to get over this because I get over everything else. Or these guys handle so much and they're used to handling so much that they think I can handle it. I can do it. Like it's all on me. And it's not.
No, it's not. They're like you said, they're able to kind of push through that. And mental toughness is such a talked about kind of phrase within the athletic realm, but it can be pretty difficult to imagine a person who produces so much success on the athletic field would experience anything other than pleasure or pride or success or a sense of like placement that they have within that sport. But the hard truth is mental health doesn't discriminate who you are. Well,
I think too the term mental toughness isn't. It's a weird term because you can say mental toughness and you're talking about, oh, I sprained my wrist, but I'm going to stay in the game, or I'm really tired. I'm done. I can't run anymore, but I'm going to keep going. I'm getting that extra mile, or I'm going to play the last 10 minutes. That's mental toughness, but there's a other side of mental toughness where I think dealing with your anxieties, dealing with your just the stresses of life, and especially your career. If we're talking about athletes, I mean incredible stress. These guys are going into their job every day. You could get fired.
Yeah.
I mean, picture it. If you're, we're a podcast for the Weekend Warriors, the guys in a cubicle, essentially. Think about if you went into your cubicle job, your general office job, and you weren't feeling it, you had a bad day, you screwed up at work, and your boss is like, yeah, we have hundreds of people that want this job and are fighting all their life for this job, so we can find someone who won't make that mistake tomorrow and get rid of you. What kind of pressure would you be under? I mean, seriously.
I would be. I'd be dying.
Would you be able to work? I mean, for me, I would not be able to perform at all. I wouldn't even be able to think straight. So for these guys to be able to do that, it's incredible. But no wonder. I mean, I would think every single athlete in every major and minor league sport, at pretty much every level, mainly if you're getting paid, professional athlete of any kind, you're going through a stress of some kind.
Absolutely.
Because that's always in the back of your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the front of your mind.
Yeah, you're constantly scrutinized, you're constantly criticized, and it's
you
not
screw up,
just...
and then you watch TV and people are talking about
exactly.
you screw up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's not just your coaches and your trainers and stuff getting after you and your other teammates. It's the millions of people that are watching you on social media. Yeah, they are hypercritical on Twitter. You go on Twitter and you see, LeBron James misses 3-point shots, to win the game. People are freaking out and saying, "Oh, he's not the greatest," or he can't get the job done. And as an athlete,
saying his career is done.
Exactly.
Every year, oh, he's done. Or he's done.
He's not the elite type of player we thought he was. I mean, that's an extreme example, but if you think about some of the lower or middle tier players who maybe get 11, 12 minutes a game, or are not hitting all of the endorsement deals or all the success that these bigger players do, God knows where they could be mentally, or in that area.
Well, I mean, I think some good examples. If we stick with basketball, and I think too, that's the thing. Adam Silver, he didn't just go off Kevin Love's article and say, "Yep, we're changing this." I mean, Tyler Honeycutt committed suicide a couple years ago, and I mean that was. I don't think the public saw that coming. People seemed pretty shocked. He was a star at UCLA, but he struggled with the league. He did not. He struggled to make that transition, and this is a guy who he was always a star. I'm 99.9% positive he had other mental health issues going, family issues, personal issues. You mix all that together, definitely anyone would get depressed. And I think if the league, in other leagues too, they're not dealing with these things, I mean, this could be a horrible trend where these guys turn to suicide because there's no help, or they're not being directed enough to help, and they're just like, well, I'm lost. I have nothing else I can do.
Yeah, I agree. And as somebody who has had a bit of depression in the past before and has gone through some things in the past, you feel very alone with it. And to be raising awareness like it, like these players are, like Kevin Love, or even athletes in general, just coming out and telling their stories. I saw an interesting article where Michael Phelps actually came out and he told his story. He's got ADHD, he's got intermittent depression, and this is a dude who's literally won like
the winningest Olympian ever.
Yeah, like the greatest Olympian ever. Handfuls and handfuls of gold medals, silver medals, bronze, wherever it is, all across the board.
He's got his money. He's got endorsements.
Yeah, and he was talking about committing suicide because the pressure was too much. It was very just all-encompassing and just so pressure-cooked situation of trying to win, constantly trying to improve, that he just couldn't take it anymore. I mean, telling these stories is
and again that
important.
Humanizes him. I feel like people look, especially Michael Phelps, as well. He has Charles Barkley said the dumbest thing on this. I mean, I love Charles, but man, it was so stupid. And I feel like he said it to get his name in the news, but it was so bad. And he was like, well, what do these guys have to be sad about? They got money, they got fame, they got everything they want. It doesn't ignorant. Work like that.
It's not how it works at all.
You idiot. Michael Phelps is Kevin Love's a good example, and there's a million others, but Michael Phelps, I feel like he's the number one gold standard.
Yeah.
Because, yes, you could look at his life and say he made it in his sport that he loves. He's still, he recently retired, but he was in the Olympics up till recently, so he had several years dominating. He's the greatest of all time. He's got money, fame, whatever, everything a normal guy would jump at a heartbeat to get. And he still feels alone. He's still a human being.
Yeah.
So, and why wouldn't you? I mean, why? You're a competitor. You win a gold. Well, now you got to do it again, or else you're irrelevant. Or else, well, see you later. We'll get someone else to win the gold. And that's and you're representing a country too. What an immense form of pressure. And so I just think you can't look at these people like, well, they got made. They got everything. And I think a lot of people do and still do. They're like, oh, they're just babies. They're overpaid and they have everything. They got nothing to worry about. And like I said, that to me is the total opposite. Yeah, they make a lot of money. Yeah, they have a dream job that you and me think is a dream job, but we've never done it, so I don't know. And on the surface, looking at them, it looks like you have everything, but they might have a crazy family life that they, have to take care of family and friends, and they have other things to do, or they just have to keep their name relevant. I mean, think about it. Guys who retire, even if you go to the Hall of Fame, guys, you forget about them. You're like, oh yeah, that guy's in the Hall of Fame, and you're back to being a normal person. There's talk about a total psychological change of, oh wait, I'm not number one.
Right.
Look at Deion Sanders. You have to make your living finding any ad you can get in and go talk about the NFL.
Yeah.
And watch the game you loved playing. That's definitely going to make you feel a certain way.
Yeah, and it just, like you said before, Aaron, it humanizes we glorify these athletes as these indestructible gods of prime physical shape, immense wealth, fame. They're just people.
It's funny. There's an NHL commercial a couple years ago, and I forget who it was. It was either Brent Burns or Joe Thornton, or it was one of the guys on the San Jose Sharks, and he was making toast, and he burnt the toast. And the commercial was like, NHL players are just like you and me, and then ... only really good at hockey. But I love that commercial because it's so true, because they're people who, they have a God-given talent, and they have just unbelievable amount of competitiveness and drive that a lot of people don't have, so they can get to that level. But they're people and human beings who have the same thoughts, the same issues that any single person on earth could deal with.
Yeah, I agree. And
it's like Biggie Small says, more money, more problems.
Well, that's actually true,
it's true
too.
it is.
And because, look at Vince Young as well. He was, touted as one of the best up-and-coming quarterbacks for the Titans. And he totally lost it because he had such bad social anxiety. He couldn't be around people. Yeah. He considered himself a loner, more to say. He just couldn't handle the kind of immense fame that came with being a number one quarterback. And nobody remembers Vince Young. He's not really
he's
talked
like a
about
joke
at all.
Now people laugh about him.
Yeah, they laugh about him when it was a really difficult issue that he had to go through and kind of face, and he had to do it alone, so to speak.
And that's not talked about enough.
Right.
That's a thing where I think the main takeaway is, if someone comes out with, hey, I am dealing with agoraphobia, I'm dealing with just an anxiety disorder of any kind, I'm dealing with depression, anything like that, I'm dealing with addiction, I mean, that needs to be remembered. And I'm not saying that should take anything away from their career. Remember them for who they are as a player, but also as a person.
Help them.
Help them and get them over that hump. And to remember that, hey, they're suffering from it, this guy can too. And then you start these programs like the NBA and NFL are doing to continue more and more as these rookies come in, that, listen, you're going to face just crazy pressure situations. People are going to talk about you in a way more negative way than they ever have before. Here's help if you need it, and essentially when you need it.
Yeah. All right, Aaron, I'm going to hit you with some stats, actually.
Hit me with some stats.
This actually might blow your mind. Exactly.
Sound effects.
Seriously, 1 in 5 adults actually experience a diagnosable mental illness in every given year.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
I actually didn't know that.
And of those 1 in 5 adults, more than half of those individuals will go untreated.
So that could be an athlete.
So
that could be 5 athletes.
Athlete. It stretches beyond the field, or it stretches beyond the movies, or any of these celebrities and everything. If these tough people are having these mental issues, then anybody has them. And to have 1 in 5 is a very, very high rate when you're talking about 7 billion people in the world. That's insane.
Well, and I think too the big thing too is people associate mental health issues, that quote, with you're crazy and they think you're like a schizophrenic or something.
No.
Anxiety isn't what I have. Everyone essentially has it nowadays. I mean, they've always had it. I don't know, I shouldn't even say nowadays. People have that to deal with. I mean, that's a mental health issue. But I think they should change the word. I don't think they should call it mental health issue anymore. I know it's a huge step, but just they should start calling it something else so we can get, because it's so hard to change that mindset of, mental health issue, you're crazy. It takes years and years and years to shed that. And I think too, just the process of helping these guys, if you see them turning to alcohol, turning to drugs, turning to just things that aren't good for them, and catching that before it gets to be too much of a problem. Look at Johnny Manziel. Yeah. I mean, look at, people were like, oh, he just likes to party, and then he's doing it more and more, and they're like, okay, no.
What do you think he's doing it for? Maybe he's doing it as an escape from his
he came out and said
issues.
He said, I'm bipolar.
There you go.
But he did that, and that was the thing that bothered me about that, was people were just like, well, he's an idiot. He's an idiot, and he doesn't know how to focus, and, he should have figured this out before he got cut, and all this stuff. And it's like, dude, he's dealing with anxiety disorder. He's bipolar. I mean, those are huge to deal with. And then, he went from pretty much 0 to 100 at A&M, and he's a face of A&M. Yeah. And then, hey, go to the NFL now and just be great and make the Browns turn the Browns around, be the savior at quarterback. I mean, that's so much to ask anybody, let alone someone who's struggling with bipolar disorder. And you look at Justin Blackmon. He's out of the league because he kept drinking, and everyone's just, well, he's an alcoholic. Well, what is he going through? And I think Josh Gordon, there's so many people that are dealing with this. And, if we stick with the NFL, Junior Seau, that's
another big one that just came to light, I think, a couple years ago through his documentary, and nobody really realized. It took him committing
suicide to start that conversation.
And nobody realized what he was going through, what was going on, and they were like, well, he was an NFL football player. I even said that. I was like, no, I would have never have guessed Junior Seau would have been remotely depressed enough to take his own life.
He's always, hey, buddy, hey, what's up, buddy?
The happiest guys, too.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it make you think of Todd Ewan?
Oh, it does, yeah. Todd was an ex-NHL player, but he also coached for the St. Louis Billikens hockey team, and we worked with the guy, too, for quite a number of years.
He was a Junior Seau type.
Yeah, he was one of the happiest guys, one of the always smiling, always like, hey, how you doing, buddy? What's going on? Like, really lit up the room when you walked in, and it goes to show like how personal these battles are for these people and how quiet they keep them. I mean, it's always the people that you would least suspect. I would say, like,
well, it's like they're putting up a facade because they're like, and to speak from my end, what I've dealt with before, I've always had the attitude, not so much of I can't talk about this. It was more of, this is my problem. Like, people don't want to know my problems.
Exactly.
I don't want to burden people with that. They don't want to hear it. I'll figure it out on my own because this is my issue, and people don't care, Yeah. And I think everyone, like Kevin Love said that in his article too, and I think that's such a common attitude because we think, well, it's just my stuff. No one needs to know. We want to keep it private, or we just don't think it's important, and that people are just gonna write it off, and that's not the case at all. And I think we're finally finding this out and seeing ultimately, very sadly, that some of these athletes and entertainers are turning to suicide because of it, and then it's too late, and then we have to start thinking, okay, what do we need to do? How can we find this before that happens?
But, I agree, and I think I look at Robin Williams, actually, from when he passed away a couple years ago as well. Literally, the dude was there for other people's comedy and to make people laugh, and I think he said in a quote before he passed away, he was like, I generally enjoy making other people smile than I enjoy making myself smile as well.
Yeah.
And just he was a very extreme example, but it goes to show, like, these athletes, these publicity figures, movie stars, musicians, whatever it is, are now, they go through these things, and it's only now coming to light because I think we're finally progressing to the point where it's okay to talk about these things. We're shattering the stigma. We're breaking down walls of it's okay to talk about your feelings. It's okay to talk about how you're doing as a person. And not necessarily go super deep into it, but to have these support systems there for you to make sure that people understand it's okay to go to a counselor. It's okay to go to a therapist, and not to sound
it's normal,
super preachy, but like everybody. Yeah, I think it's normal. I think everybody's a little weird in their own way, and everybody could deal with use a therapist every.
Well,
now
I think too, we need to stop. It's hard to do, but we need to stop also glamorizing these celebrities and athletes as they have the perfect life. I think one of the most eye-opening, and there's been several because Junior Seau was eye-opening, Johnny Manziel, the list goes on and on. Royce White, Kevin Love, DeMar DeRozan, all these guys. It was eye-opening to hear. But then the biggest one's Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah,
this was recent. This was
very recent.
I don't even think it was a month ago. He went on a talk show because he's promoting the CBD oil.
Yeah.
Now, and he's trying to help. To me, he is the perfect person because he's a guy. Me and all the other bros would look at him and be like, man, that guy's got the life. He's got all the girls. He's got all the money. He's got all the fame. He's the best at his sport. And he, all this stuff. He's won all these Super Bowls and perfect life. And I always thought, and there again, always happy, always goofy, always shotgun the beer on the bus, after they won. I mean, you're just like, oh, this guy's amazing.
He's got it made, yeah.
But and it was funny too because he went. Remember, I don't know if you remember that when he went on that party with Johnny Manziel in Vegas.
I remember that. Yeah,
it was a funny picture when you look at it. But then hearing this, he wasn't happy. He was dealing with, and not to I don't think to the extent of Johnny Manziel or some of these other guys, but he was dealing with this anxiety and this feeling of it's never good enough, and it really took a toll on him. And he said, after he won the Super Bowl, the last one, he just went to bed and he was crying. Like, after the Super Bowl, just crying in bed because he just couldn't take the injuries and the stress just weighing on him. And I'm sure thinking about the future, too, because he was getting older and the injuries start piling up. Football of all sports, it's not going to last forever. And that was incredible to me because I would have never in a million years guessed Rob Gronkowski, of all people.
Right.
Like, Gronk is suffering from that too. I mean, it's incredible. So I think that's the thing. We need to stop looking at these people of, look at their perfect life. Because a lot of times it's a facade. It's just, that's all they're doing. They're trying to take away the problem and, hey, don't look at that. Look at this. Look at the positive stuff, which I can relate to. I get it. I do that too. And I think everyone does because they don't want to talk about negative stuff. They want to talk about positive, happy, make everyone else happy. Like you said, with Robin Williams or with everyone else. And I think that's the thing we need to kind of shift and look at, okay, they are normal people with normal lives and have issues too, and how can we help them?
Yeah, I agree. And I think it raises an interesting question of, kind of what is the true definition of health? You look at these athletes or you look at these people and they're in prime physical shape, like Gronkowski. I mean, the dude was a tank. How tall is he? Like 6'6" or something?
Yeah, definitely.
Like 6'6", like 275, 280, like maybe 2 ounces of body fat on him.
He's like the LeBron body. Like he's huge, but he can run and he's quick. He's got everything that any athlete wants.
A massive dude, but it's more than just prime physical peak. These people have issues about their health that need for in their mental state, I guess.
You got to maintain that. That's the thing too. I think that right there, if you're perfect, quote unquote perfect, you got to stay perfect. Because once you're not perfect, see you later. Like, we don't care, Or even more so, you'll get scrutinized and say, oh, remember when Vince Young? Remember when they were good? Johnny Manziel. Remember when they were good? And it becomes that, and that's going to weigh on them, and they're going to start thinking, okay, I got to get back to that level, and maybe you can't. And maybe things have changed, or maybe you just can't get back to where you were, and you did hit your peak athletically and physically. You get older, that's going to happen, and that's hard to cope with if you've always been at that peak. So I just think that's a tough deal, and something that's bound to happen. I mean, I don't know anyone who, if you're perfect or you quote unquote made it, that you're going to stay there forever, and if you don't, that's not going to affect you. I mean, that's going to weigh on, even if you do stay there for a couple years, that's going to weigh on you, and you're always going to think of that next step of, okay, how long is this going to last? When is this going to change? What do I do when it changes? I mean,
I agree.
That's a huge burden to carry.
I agree. And with the NBA kind of releasing some of these new guidelines and mandatory types of things and just offering that level of support is such an important part, because even if the players don't take advantage of it, there's that option that they have it there available. And I think the NFL is doing some things as well, but the NBA is really kind of leading the way in the major sports leagues in America. I didn't really see anything that the MLB was doing. The NHL has some loose things here and there, but it's not more of on a league-wide stand or mandate.
No, like the NHL, to me, that's a huge ball drop, because that's a contact sport. We're seeing the effects of CTE.
Yeah, look at all the concussions that these hockey players get. Crosby's got like 13 concussions. I'm surprised he isn't like,
I'm sure he's dealing with something
like,
that he's. I guarantee he'll retire, and once this conversation becomes, I mean, he's the face of the league. So I think once this conversation gets to be a little even more mainstream, he'll come out and say, "Yeah, I dealt with this, this, and this." And I'm sure even if he doesn't know it, he is dealing with at least anxiety at a very minimum. I mean, how could you not? You've been at the top of your game forever. So. I mean, again, credit to the NBA and to the NFL for getting that started. But the NHL, they do Hockey Talks, which is a Canadian initiative. All the teams will they'll do that initiative to start the conversation in Canada. But it happened after Rick Rippon committed suicide. He was on the Vancouver Canucks. And then it got the conversation talking, and people in the NHL were looking at it like, okay, this can happen to the players. We didn't know. And
right.
I question how much they knew and didn't know, because part of me thinks they knew it could happen, but they didn't want to take this huge stance, and there was still that big stigma there. This is 2013, so it's still fairly recent.
Isn't it terrible that all of these things happen after the fact?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, it's horrible. It's not even it happened once. This has been happening.
Oh yeah.
And then it's a slow turn, and I just think you can't wait. To me, and I understand, it's not at the front of mind, and then an extreme thing happens like that. But you need to make a huge change then. If one person, I don't care who it is, if they do something, even turn to addiction. If they turn to that, you got to do something immediately, and you have to do it for everyone. And I'm not saying it's a foolproof, this is going to fix it problem, but it's definitely going to make a dent. And I think for now, for them to just start making this dent, it's inexcusable, and they need to work quicker and get these programs implemented.
Yeah, I agree. And it's such a reactive type of, I guess, situation that everybody's in, and I think it's a hard thing to get in front of, but with these athletes speaking out and being more vocal about their stories and their issues, then people are going to take note of that, and momentum's going to build. I mean, look at the NBA; they're doing some stuff to kind of get ahead of things, and
social media is huge.
Yeah, I was just going to say
the NHL did so. Bell Let's Talk. I don't know if you heard about that. You guys have probably seen it once in a while. They'll do the hashtag Bell Let's Talk. I didn't know what it was. And then I clicked on it and looked it up, and it was a mental health awareness thing. And that started, again, in Canada, and each team was doing it, and they partnered with Hockey Talks to do this initiative, and then it started spreading down to the States, and then it got out of the NHL, and I saw, I think, DeMar DeRozan and some other guys, NBA players, celebrities, Ellen DeGeneres was tweeting it out, too. It bled into just the entertainment field alone, as a whole, I should say. So, and that really helped. So I think with social media, that will really turn the conversation, because you see it, and you're going to see that, hey, we need to talk about this. We need to bring it up. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it shouldn't be uncomfortable as much as it used to be, because you're going through it just like Kevin Love is going through it, just like Rob Gronkowski is going through it.
Yeah.
Everybody, everyone's going through it. So
everybody does it.
It's this community, and I think social media is good there, because it creates a community of, hey, you share your personal information all the time anyway with social media. Share this, and then we can help you. We're here to help. We're not going to judge. That we're going to provide a solution of some kind, or just let you know that resources are available.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important thing too. And we'll pivot kind of to the last segment of our conversation here. Is what can these organizations, what can the sports organizations do, or just people in general do to kind of get ahead of this and change these things? Because it's so hard to treat something that's not directly related. Yeah, you can't really see it. And two, how do you have these players take time off to deal with these issues? When they get injured or when they have a surgery or something, that's time out of their day that's direct related to recovering from that or training to overcome that injury. That's built into their schedule. This essentially is not really built into their schedule, going to a therapist or whatever. That's more of kind of like personal time, so to speak. What I'm saying is that it has to be integrated into both the personal and the work time as well. And when the NBA is making these players or these teams go to these meetings in Chicago, I think it's coming up on September 12th, actually a couple days from now, when they're actually forcing them to take educational type of classes about these and just learn about this, that's the way that you integrate the personal time into the work time.
Yep.
But I don't know, Aaron, what do you think? Like, what could we kind of add, or what could anybody do to kind of change some things going forward here?
I would take exactly what the NBA implemented, because it's very extensive and it seems to cover all bases. And I'm sure there's more they can do and they will do. But for now, it seems like they're pioneering this the most. I mean, even more so than the NFL. The MLB, which the MLB has addressed it, and they're letting people take time off for it, which is good. And come on, I mean, the MLB to me is baseball. I think is the hardest sport to play. It's I mean, it's
golf. I would say.
Yeah, but MLB is a structured, it's a 162 game season. So to me, it's so much more wear and tear in your body, and
that's true. Yeah.
It's technical like golf too. So I just think mentally it's such a tough game, and then you have the physical part mixed in. They need to address this. Zach Greinke has talked a lot about his social anxiety, overcoming that. You have stories like Madison Bumgarner, one of the best pitchers in the league. He almost quit baseball.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
he couldn't take it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a really good quote from David Freese too, and this is another guy where people were just shocked to hear about, because he's the hometown hero for St. Louis.
Right.
He essentially, you could make
Game
the argument
6 winner.
He won the World Series for that. He won Game 6, but that
Cardinals won the series.
We knew we were there. Yeah, they were winning the Game 7 there. But he's got a quote, and he says, I was depressed. I was always depressed. I didn't care about my life. I didn't care what would happen to me. It was almost to the point, if this is my time, so be it. And there was definitely a lack of care about my well-being at certain times, for sure. That's from Bob Nightingale from USA Today.
That is terrible.
That's an eye-opening quote.
That is a really huge eye-opening quote, because one, like,
when
you're depressed or when you're anxious and you combine the two together, everything that the world throws at you is going to be too much. It could be, I stubbed my toe on the couch. I can't do it anymore. Like, literally just like, then you spiral and snowball. It's like, okay, this is going wrong. Okay, this is going wrong.
Everything becomes a big deal.
And then I have this going wrong, and then it just keeps going bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think, from the stuff that I've learned about how to overcoming that is kind of like reframing that. And for him to say that and come out and then to say that, there wasn't any support, nobody cared, or, I felt like if this was my time, like he had literally accepted that if he was going to die, he was fine with it.
And he turned to alcoholism, and I think the eye-opening thing for him, he crashed into the tree. He got into the accident.
I remember that,
after, shortly after the World Series. And to me, that just shows, that could have been another death to add to the list because of it. And we don't know if that was a suicide attempt. We don't know if he was just driving drunk and that happened, but still, if that could have happened, what a shakeup with the MLB. And I think to have that quote, to have that incident, and thank God he's still with us today, and he's still playing baseball, and he has received the treatment and the resources now. But the MLB needs to wake up and look at that and say, okay, it's not on David Freese, and I think the league expects these players to be the face of it. No, it's not on the players to come out and talk about, hey, this is what I'm dealing with and this is how I'm going to improve it. The league needs to do that. I think the players should come out and talk about it to bring it to light. I think it's awesome, and it really helps reading all these different quotes. But the league needs to take a stand and not just say, hey, teams, hey, players, figure out how we can make this better and kind of take this stance. And the NHL, same type of deal. And so to answer your question, that's what needs to be changed, is those leagues need to follow suit with the NBA and do it now. Because the NHL, to me, even is the same type of issue. It's mental, but it's 10 times more physical than baseball.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with concussions. You're dealing with the same thing that football's essentially dealing with, and a longer season.
Right.
I mean, yeah, and you have cases like Derek Bugard, Rick Rippon. You have so many of these guys who we never suspected anything was wrong, and then they end their career, and it happens. Wade Belock, these other names come to mind where you kind of just forget about them because they're retired, or they're role players or whoever, and then we find out too late. Oh no, they were dealing with this. So I think the big change is they need to follow suit exactly to a T what the NBA is doing. So good job, NBA.
Yeah, I agree with that. And even when you can take it down a level too and just say, like, these are businesses. Like, these are NBA, NFL, whatever sports league and franchise it is, these are businesses. And at the end of the day, you have to take care of your employees. And when you invest in your employees and structures and programs that say, okay, we support you, we're going to offer these areas of accommodation to help out, obviously your employees are going to perform better. That's more money for you, and that's more publicity for you. But also it's a positive publicity too. I mean, any business that says, okay, we're supporting mental health, or we're supporting these areas to help these players through these huge issues and go through these things, is going to get more of like a positive reinforcement, so to speak.
Oh, definitely.
So when you have like nutritionists and trainers and staff and everything that travel with these teams,
yeah, isn't that amazing? You look at a team's roster, and they'll have the staff all on there. There's a million coaches and a million trainers and I mean, why isn't there a mental health professional
a
right on board,
therapist or a counselor to travel along with them? Why is there nobody there that can counsel these players through? I mean, if you're going to the Super Bowl and you're coming off of a stressful season and you're stressed out, maybe you would want to talk to somebody like, my nerves are really killing me for this game. Like, this is the biggest game of my career.
Oh, yeah.
If I don't win this game, my career could be over, or I'll never get to the top, or I'll never get, to where I want to be. And then that snowballs, like, why not have somebody that goes along with them? Like with Kevin Love, that was an away game, I think, that he had that panic attack in.
Yeah.
And he had to leave the game. He didn't have anybody to talk to with it, so why not?
And that could have been dangerous.
That could have been super dangerous, yeah, because he said his heart was increasing, he couldn't breathe, he was feeling lightheaded, he was dizzy, and he was so confused because he's never had that before.
Yeah.
So when you combine that with somebody who isn't as physically fit,
it just seems like common sense, and that's why it's amazing to me we've gotten to this point, and I hope that every league does that and brings a therapist or someone in that realm on the team trips to talk to these guys.
Yeah.
I think, too, you'll see just a benefit with their play, too. I think it'll translate because they're going to be there to continue the conversation. And the biggest thing is about trust. So I think guys will be able to share more and talk about what they're hiding because they trust these people and they look to them like they do a coach or like anyone else you trust on a team. And I think you just see leaps and bounds in both entertainment side because guys will be happier and relieved of any mental health issues they're dealing with or stress. And but also just from the perspective of they'll be healthier. And you're not going to see, I think addiction will go down. I think you'll see them turning to those self-medicating type things because you'll have someone to be there to essentially talk them out of it,
right,
or help them with it, I should say, before it starts and before they think they have nowhere to turn.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that's a good way to put it. And some great changes, some great stuff that we've talked about too. And I want to say, if anybody is kind of feeling depressed or anxious or has certain thoughts like that, don't be afraid to go and talk to somebody. You don't have to be Kevin Love or DeMar DeRozan or any athlete or musician or whomever it is. I'm a regular dude doing this podcast. We're just regular dudes. We have corporate jobs. We have the daily stresses of life. Trying to pay our bills. Trying to see if that girl likes you or not, or trying to see if you're whatever it is.
We're not Joe Rogan.
I
thought
Joe
we were
Rogan.
as big as him.
He was a regular dude at one point.
I thought you guys
too.
subscribed to the first episode on Apple Podcasts.
No, so I'm just saying, like, if anybody does feel like that, don't be afraid. Go to a counselor. Talk to your family. Talk to your friends. Literally, talk to anybody that you have that's close to you, because people will listen and people will take note of these things, and they will help you too. And I got most of my stats from the American Psychiatric Foundation, so they have tons more information on mental health, how you're feeling, what to do within certain business environments or work environments or whatever it is to address that as well. So my PSA is over now with that, but I think we've covered some good stuff today, Aaron. This has been one of my favorite episodes, and we've only done 2 of them so far. But this is going to be one of my favorites going forward.
We're like a musician up there. Like, this is the best city yet.
This is
on
the best
tour
one yet. Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. What are you going to say next time?
Exactly. Yeah.
But no, it really is. It's mine too, because it means a lot. It has a lot of meaning to me as a person who has to deal with anxiety and things like that, and just has to. A person who's dealt with it on my own and tried to deal with it on my own, and has had to look for help and talking to someone as well. So I think it's great. For one thing that I would definitely check out is A Light in the Darkness. It's the Sports Illustrated article by Pablo Torre, and he actually wrote it in 2010, which is crazy. He wrote it back then, and now 9 years later, we're finally having this more popular conversation.
Yeah.
But definitely that's eye-opening. It's about MLB players and their struggle with with mental health and kind of what they're going through. So definitely check that out. It's a good article to really get a true sense of what they go through and what should be done. And then another thing I have it was last week, a year ago, one of my favorite singers, and kind of carrying this into the entertainment industry too. I know we focused on athletes, but I think this goes hand in hand with entertainers of any kind. But one of my favorite singers, Kyle Pavone, actually died of an accidental heroin overdose.
Oh gosh!
A year ago last week. So definitely, he was 28 years old. He was at the top of his career. He was in the band We Came as Romans. Just a very talented individual, and someone who people, and I've seen him at live shows several times, you would never guess. And then it came out of the blue, and it was due to just from what the public could tell, the pressures he was dealing with,
right,
and the anxieties he had to deal with. So to help him and his family and just entertainers in general, I would definitely check out KylePavoneFoundation.org. It's a big organization that I support and that I encourage everyone listening to at least check out and support if you can. One thing that you can do is donate to the Kyle Pavone Foundation. You could text support Kyle and at 20222. That'll donate $10 to it. So definitely worth checking out. It supports just letting entertainers know that there's help out there and to get them the help they need. So definitely check it out.
Very well said, Aaron. I really like that. We're not really sponsored by that foundation.
Yeah, that's not a sponsor. That's just definitely something that I feel strongly about, and that was eye-opening to me when that happened last year, to really look more into, okay, what are athletes and entertainers dealing with? Because I was a person where I didn't really think about it either. Mm-hmm. And then that hit home for me because I'm a big fan of the band and especially of him. And so when that happened, I checked it out. So definitely encouraged to look into it.
Yeah, and we're not sponsored by anything really. This was a good episode where we came to kind of to talk about, and it's kind of struck home for me as well. Obviously it did for Aaron, and it was just an important topic we needed to talk about. So I think we were able to kind of make that happen.
Yeah, and hopefully this conversation a year from now we can look back and it's even bigger, and there's more initiatives put forth by these other leagues.
Spark the movement, man. Let's spark the movement. But I think that's going to do it for us today. Thanks, everybody, for listening in to the Weekendology podcast. You can check us out at Twitter at Weekendology Pod. We're at YouTube. Just search Weekendology Podcast. And like I said, we are on iTunes as well. So check out, search iTunes on Weekendology Podcast as well. We're soon going to be up on Spotify, but let's continue the conversation down in Twitter as well, or in the comments on YouTube. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know if there's anything that you're feeling or you have struggles with. We want to hear from you, and we're here to help as well for you in any way we can. I think that's gonna do it, Aaron.
Yeah. Where can I follow you to do that?
Oh, you can follow me at my Twitter handle. It'll be down below, but it's William Deichley. And Aaron, where are you at?
It's Aaron Levi Berg, AaronLeviBurg. So hit us up either on our personal handles or on Weekendology Pod. Either or works. We see both.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks, Aaron. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. But until then, let's stay good.